Kelly, last week when CM Punk made that comment about "I'm going to bury you next to your dad," it felt kind of forced, and CM Punk took some criticism for it. And they're trying to portray what's going on with Punk and Reigns to some degree as like a loosely scripted, say what you want, shoot. And so the thought was, oh, maybe Punk just said that and might genuinely regret it, or whatever, he opened himself up to criticism. Pretty clear now, I mean, unless they just improvised, came up with this on the spot, that line was there to set up a very clear cut storyline point in the journey to WrestleMania, with Jimmy and Jay coming out there and insisting that CM Punk apologize for that comment. Punk seemed like he was about to do it when the Usos interrupted. We'll never know. And then Punk ended up saying he was sorry and shaking hands with both Jay and Jimmy. But as happens a lot, I think more often in pro wrestling, Kelly, than in real life, I'm sorry, and then dramatic pause, for blah, blah, blah. And then Punk went on a whole thing about, I'm sorry that your cousin Roman never apologized for treating you guys like garbage. And if he was, really loyal to you guys and the fans and this company, he'd be here now. And instead, I'm talking to you. I thought it was a good segment. I don't really have a strong criticism right now. Maybe I can be talked into it, but I thought Punk was really good. I think Jimmy and Jay play off each other really well. Jay is the hothead, Jimmy holding it in, but he can snap too. And if you got 6 weeks to fill before WrestleMania, and Roman's not going to be around all the time, and you're trying to add some new juice to this, I thought this segment accomplished it. Kelly, tell me your thoughts on the closing segment.
Yeah, I'm with you. I really think that the Usos, Jimmy and Jay specifically here, are versatile in the way that they can do this. They have to do a lot of heavy lifting for Roman because Roman's schedule is what it is. And that's why this story beat happened. I mean, if you want to go big, you got to go big at WrestleMania. And that's what they did here. And for some people, this is going to be beyond the pale. But for me, as a guy who's been doing creative endeavors his whole life, I know that what I would say if I was in a creative, there's no world like wrestling, but if I was in a world like wrestling, I would say, hey, when I'm gone, use me. I really would. And I don't know that Sika said that specifically, but I would be surprised if he would be upset with that in a situation where several of his family members could genuinely benefit from it. Like, I know that this isn't going to grab everybody the right way, and death is something that is really, really specific to a lot of people. But I think that using this and going this way to get a couple of weeks out of this when you're not going to have Roman is a good way to go. Jimmy and Jay were really, really good in this segment. Both of them doing, as you said, doing what they had to do. Yes, it was very pro wrestling in that he said, I'm sorry. And I was just waiting because I was like, well, it's not over here. So I knew that he was going to say, I'm sorry, that's not what it is. But all the things he said afterward were true. That Roman, the megalomaniac version of Roman, didn't apologize for all the things he did for those 3 years that he was at that time. So I feel like in this face versus face match, they're saying pick someone because they've both got their major flaws. And I think that can be okay. We got 2 face versus face matches for the 2 championships. And if I'm betting on somebody to turn, I'm betting on Cody. But I think both these guys will stay face in their own manner. But I thought that tonight's segment was real good for that match and for the Usos. I just really, really dug this as I wouldn't say early, but as WrestleMania prep.
Going back to Punk's stint in AEW and trying to assess all the drama that happened there, I kind of landed on a place which was, I think, Punk. So many people agree with CM Punk on a lot of things, but by the time he's done explaining how right he is, you resent him enough to want to change your mind and be against whatever he stands for. Yeah. And that happened here. I mean, it feels authentic. I mean, like it's just, that's Punk's, why Punk rubs people the wrong way. Those was like, hey, Jimmy's like, I respect you because you speak your mind. If there's an obstacle, you plow through it. Yeah, there's never an obstacle that Punk couldn't have easily sidestepped to get on with his day that he didn't decide to turn into an issue that blew up his day. That's Punk's life. That's what Punk's friends, are like, come on, dude. Like, you don't have to plow. But Jimmy's complimenting him for it. And we can sit here and psychoanalyze, Phil Brooks, the person, CM Punk, the person, the character, and all that from afar and through what we, hear and from his friends and see with our own eyes. But whatever your thoughts on that are, clearly this version of Punk on air in the story they're telling is based on that. The psychoanalysis of the general public on what they love about Punk, but why Punk always seems to get himself in a position of being resented even when he's right. Now, the line last week about the bury you next to your dad, it was clunky. It felt forced. And he came out to the ring and he took criticism all week, for it. And in sort of a meta sense that wasn't very clever. That was kind of hack. That was kind of just, leave it to somebody with less intellect and art. I don't know, I was going to say articulateness, but more promo finesse to go there, come up with something better. But Punk in this segment came out and was looking around going, I wasn't sure what the temperature of the room was going to be. Like, for a guy who says, I don't care what social media says, apparently he did enough to think this crowd is going to be booing him instead of largely cheering him. And I don't know if that went against what they were expecting and hoping, or because it almost seemed, Kelly, to me that in the first minute or two of the segment, he was almost trying to like soften the cheers for him for some reason. I don't know. It didn't seem like he was pleasantly surprised. It almost felt like he was trying to steer them into, no, for this to work, I kind of need some of you to be against me. And it didn't really happen. And then we'll get into other aspects of it. But what did you make of that? That did it come across like he was like, man, this is throwing me off. You guys are cheering me. I thought half of you would be booing me.
Yeah, as soon as he said the temperature is this way, I knew that they were going for CM Punk as de facto heel in this match. And maybe heel period. But I maybe he thought he turned and it turned out that he found out that he didn't turn. It was, I think that he was trying to do the work to be the heel that he's supposed to be in this, but gosh, both of them make such good points, and it's so easy to accidentally be a face against Roman Reigns right now, not just because of the years of resentment, but because of him never apologizing in a real way for what he did as a heel. And Roman right now, the character I've got a lot of love for her. And if you ask me who I want to win right now, it's Roman. But I think that I think that CM Punk was really trying to lean into that, and when that didn't happen right away, he was like, I've got a lot of work to do. That's what I took away from the beginning of what he did completely.
Yeah. I like in the chat, I just kind of looking at the chat in the early portion of the show here, and it seemed like the sentiment, just anecdotal within our chat, was that Punk seemed to be more heelish and Roman is more sympathetic. And I come away from this last week and this week just kind of thinking that they're each making a case that is imperfect, but they each have some good points. They're each in their own way kind of dickish about it. Like it's just kind of pick which one, which approach you think is more cool or resonates with you more. And I think there's some on the fringes who are blind to why other people would see it differently. if you're a super Roman fan, you'd see it one way. You're a super Punk fan, you see it the other, and you're like, how can people not see it my way? And I think I won't call it a bias. It's not. Well, I mean, it's a bias, but it's not an unfounded bias. You just one of the two resonates more with you in terms of their personality and their demeanor. Roman is just a little bit more take it in, be calm, pick your spots, and Punk is just blah 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 blah, super intense, red faced, and I'm just going to say everything I feel without regard to consequence, and you can respect me or not for it. I don't care. And it's fascinating. I mean, it is, it's why when they did their first promo and it got such acclaim, it was like, is this really going to be a match people are going to care about? And after the first promo, I think they accomplished it. I thought last week was a derivative version of it, but, not as hot. But this, I think, incorporated something aspects that can sustain it now for another month plus as we lead to WrestleMania. And for Punk, like when I say Punk can be right, but make everyone resent him for it by the time he's done making his case, which is, kind of his life story. I mean,
always.
Yeah. I mean, his public life story, private life, I don't know. But, in the public realm. And if you look at it that way, he could have said, Jimmy, didn't mean to disrespect your family. Sometimes I go too far. In this case, I was so focused on Roman, I wasn't taking into account those words would land with other relatives the way they did with you. And I respect that, and I apologize. Separate from that, Roman, I think, owes you guys an apology. And I have something I want to say about that. That he could have said it that way. And then it would be like, wow, he was big enough to apologize sincerely without apologizing to Roman. Just going, I didn't take into account in the heat of the moment. He wasn't just Roman's dad. There's a whole family here. But he can't do that. Like, he had to make it seem like the apology was just a fake apology to then rant about Roman not apologizing to him. Well, I might have done it, but you did it first, and there's an immaturity to that I think for anti-Punk people or pro-Roman people, like, yeah, that's why I don't like Punk. But for people who love Punk, who say never back down, never give an inch, they like that. So that dynamic's really interesting. But there absolutely was a way for Punk to eat his cake and have it too. Like, just be applauded for a sincere apology that was owed. It was, there's nothing wrong with Usos asking for it. I think they were right to ask for it, and Punk was right to give it. But also make a point, hey guys, Roman's never apologized to you guys for treating you like trash. He's not here. The stuff about he's not here, I mean, they're going to play that part-timer card forever. And that's more of a seniority leverage thing in a meta sense than I don't care about you guys. If you can go into work one day a week and earn the same living that people who go 5 days a week, the people who go 5 days a week might resent it, but they'd probably take the deal too. So that's kind of iffy. So yeah, Kelly, just kind of your thoughts on that notion of how it'll come across that Punk could have apologized sincerely and put kind of a firewall between an apology and then thinking Roman owes them one, and instead he blended them.
I think this is why Roman runs uphill so much. People, even if he's right, he's not there. So somebody else has to do the talking for him. And then the other person has to bring up the fact that somebody's doing the talking for him. And if he's not out there to defend the honor of his own father, then why would anyone else? This is the one difficulty with Roman's schedule. Well, maybe not the only one, but it's a difficulty with Roman's schedule that he is not there to promote this match. And if he's supposed to be the babyface, he's really got to be there more than this. That's what struck me. So it's clear what they want us to do, but if they want us to do that, then Roman can't take any more weeks off until WrestleMania. So I don't know if I've totally gotten at it, but I'm just down a rabbit hole of what I think that this match needs. And for me, this match gained a lot of sizzle tonight. So even though I don't think either one of them is a pure babyface, I want to see them hurt each other after tonight. So that's a massive plus, because I thought before now, okay, cool, they're doing this thing. But I thought this segment really did a lot. And and Jimmy and Jay. What a weird position to for them to promote the WrestleMania main event that neither one of them will be touching this year.
I want to give props to just the way that they entered the ring, Jay and Jimmy. Jay pacing back and forth, and Jimmy holding ground and just staring at Punk. They each had a very different way to approach the situation. It totally fits with their characters and where they are right now. I know, some people see Jay as a good performer, good enough in the ring and really good in playing his character. Others, don't. I think Jay plays I think there's a real clear definition of who Jay is, and I think he plays it really, really well.
Yep.
He's not a super complicated, nuanced, layered intellectual. He is an emotionally driven, simple person who can be influenced by others, and his heart is in the right place, but he can be steered away from it due to manipulation. And there's a vulnerability and an innocence that lets you down sometimes, but also brings you back to him. And I think he's cognizant that that's a character he plays on TV. He's steered in that way, and I think the people around him build around that. And Jimmy plays they were just interchangeable twins for so long. It's just so weird. But Jimmy's so distinct now, distinctly different. And he's not to say relative to the average person, he doesn't have a temper and seem hot-headed, but he deals with his emotions in a more mature, measured way, most of the time. And I just thought the visual of Jay pacing and Jimmy staring Punk down was really good. And then in the end, they're brothers. They handle things differently, but they're twins. They took Punk down and were upset with him in the end. So yeah, just a shout out to the Usos for this. I mean, they are part of whatever is going on with Roman to build this match up. They are kind of like Paul Heyman is to Brock Lesnar or Heyman is to Roman, like the Usos are to Roman right now, a key piece in being part of the presentation of Roman's side of things going into this match.
Yeah. Every time that we convene, the Usos do something important, and you do every main roster show, and I don't. But so every time we do a show together, I'm like, oh, I wonder what the Usos are going to do, because this doesn't just happen accidentally.
Yeah.
I really dig what they're doing. So even though they're kind of, I'm not going to say slumming it as the tag team champions, because they've made them very important. They're one of the teams that has. I just really think that they really drove home what the story is on this week. And if I'm Roman, I'm very, very happy at the job that my Usos did here tonight.
Roman's gonna have material to work with. And maybe Roman's comeback is, Punk, you got an issue with me, with Usos. You could have apologized to them and not apologized to me, but you can't even just apologize to people who have one coming and then keep your issues with me separate. Like, there's that whole firewall side of this that I pointed out that could be if Roman wants. I mean, there's multiple things Roman can do, but I could see that being the natural rebuttal here. Let's pause and just kind of formally introduce ourselves in the show a little bit here, and then we'll go to the chat comments on our opening Block A segment here to spur some more comments on this and also just offer up some other opinions. This is a Wade Keller Pro Wrestling post show for Monday, March 9th, 2026. I'm Wade Keller, host of the show, editor, publisher, and founder of the long-running Pro Wrestling Torch weekly newsletter. Here's a paper copy. It'll be a collector's item someday, perhaps, so you can subscribe to the paper copy. PWTorch.com/GoVIP for information on getting a digital copy subscription with a VIP membership or getting home delivery of a paper copy. When you go digital, you get a PDF copy, an alt-text copy, a version of it to read online or on your phone, and then tons of other benefits. Podcast galore. I mean, like commercial-free versions of our free shows like this one, VIP exclusive shows, and then nearly 4 decades of archives, hundreds of retro radio shows from the 90s on demand. They're just a blast to listen to. They're so different than and so similar. I mean, like, such a different delivery method, but it just fans change in certain ways, because our old radio shows used to be people calling up and asking questions you can look up on the internet now. So it's kind of fun listening back to what a call-in show was like that I hosted in the early 90s on Pro Wrestling on KFAN, when people just wanted to know basic facts. And there was discussion like this too, but it was mixed in with things that now people would just Google or ask AI about. So yeah, fun stuff. Over 2 decades of podcasts. We were doing podcasts before podcasting was a word. We called them audio shows, and those are available on demand. Over 20 years of post pay-per-view roundtables, for instance. And then also new roundtables. We did a post Elimination Chamber roundtable this past weekend. Todd Martin and Rich Fan and I reviewed the show. So yeah, we welcome you to go VIP. Do it for yourself primarily. Your time is valuable. Go commercial free, ad free, streamlined listening, streamlined reading. Tons of extra content comes with it. But do it for us too. If you like our approach to covering wrestling and you want to support a small business, I hope you can feel good about supporting us and keeping us going with a product that you're proud to support. PWTorch.com/GoVIP. We are here to talk Raw, and I mentioned the chat earlier. If you're watching us live on our PW Torch YouTube channel, welcome and thank you. Appreciate your support watching us live. And if you're watching us on demand, welcome. Try to join us live sometime if you can. And if you are live, you can join in the chat. We have a live chat. It's a great community, really positive place, and I'm proud of that. And you can join in live. You can also email us if that works better for you. If you want to just type up your thoughts while you're watching Raw, Dynamite, or SmackDown, email them to wadekellerpostshow@gmail.com. You can watch the show live or listen on demand later to it and see if your email made the show. The other way you can join us is by calling in, and the link changes every show. So to find that link, go to my report at PWTorch, covering the TV show that precedes the post show. And tonight, the link is in my Raw report. And you can click on that, and you can be an audio-only caller if you turn off your camera, like our Blog Talk Radio days, or turn the camera on and be a video caller. And then, of course, if you are amongst the vast majority who listen to us on the podcast side of things, because we've been doing podcasting for decades, thank you for downloading the show and supporting us and listening. And the way for you to participate, if you want to, is by email then, if you're not able to join us live. All right. So with all that said, let's introduce my co-host, Kelly Wells. He covers NXT and New Japan for PWTorch. He's the host or co-host of PWT Talks NXT right here on the PWTorch YouTube channel on Tuesday nights, including tomorrow night. And he also writes New Japan reports and does NXT 8 Years Back with Tom Staub. They've been going through the library of NXT shows for all the shows that preceded the ones that they covered right after the show ended. So like you, Kelly, you were a New Japan completist. You can update us on where you stand on that. But also you are in a way, an NXT completist now, watching until they took some of the shows off network.
Right.
But certainly talking about them and covering them. I mean, you're pretty much covered every single NXT show that ever aired.
It didn't matter that they took the ones off there because I saw them as they aired years ago. So I have seen every episode of NXT, save for one about a month and a half ago. I want to watch it for completest sake. But it's, wrestling 6 weeks ago is not wrestling today. So I could easily skip it. Yeah, I'm no stranger to roundtables myself. Just did one with Nate Lindbergh and Paul Weigel. We covered NXT Vengeance Day. Still one of the worst PLE names in wrestling, but was a real good show. It just elevated a lot of people, which is the whole point of NXT. That was very cool. So
By the way, let me interject, Kelly, quick on those Peacock shows when they run their specials. If you don't watch NXT every week, it just doesn't fit your schedule. But you listen to the NXT post show, of course, to keep up. The show that Sam Roberts and is it Megan do?
Megan Moran?
Yeah. For a half hour to an hour, I think it's an hour. They I don't know how many people watch it. I feel like kind of bad. I don't know how many people are watching the NXT takeover or not PLE pre-shows, but they just catch you up on the last month or two, like really, really well. So
I have watched it before. It's pretty legit.
And Sam's really good at what he does.
Catch it, watch it. Yeah, they both are. Megan has the job of asking all the questions, and Sam has the job of answering them all. And I really dig what they do. I don't need to catch it, but sometimes I do because time dictates that I can. And that 1 hour would get you there if you aren't there already.
Yeah, I mean, you don't even have to watch the PLE if you don't have time. If you just want to keep up How many PLEs do they do a year now, Kelly? NXT.
They do about 5 or 6. I
was going to guess 6 or 7. But around there every couple months.
They do a lot of very special episodes. They were doing way
that's true.
too many very special episodes early on in the Shawn Michaels. Every time somebody takes over who's got something to prove, there are way too many special episodes. And it seemed like that was the case. And right now it seems like they're committed to doing a good show that occasionally has PLEs.
Yes. And what I was going to say is you can keep up on NXT. If there's 6 PLEs a month or a year, you can watch 6 hours of TV a year and be really caught up on NXT. Like, and obviously you're going to pick and and that's just, I'm just saying this for people with limited schedules. Like, oh, it's too much and I wish I could and I can't. Like, there's not a version of that for the other shows where like every 2 months you can watch an hour and they'll just kind of catch you up. And then you can pick and choose what you can watch if you don't have time. If you enjoy it, watch it every week. But obviously if you don't, that's just something that's just doing a shout out. Cause again, I think they're too good. Megan and Sam do a good job. And Sam is he's so into it and so good at explaining stuff. And I was watching him and just thinking, man, AEW could use their version of Sam Roberts to just be a super fan analyst who explains the angles as articulately as he does. Okay, so I don't know. Yeah, check out our coverage of NXT every Tuesday night, and including tomorrow night. Kelly, anything else you want to say about yourself or the NXT coverage before we go back to analyzing Raw?
The only thing I would say is that every time I'm covering Raw or SmackDown, I'm so amazed at how easy it is to cover from a talent standpoint and from a compartmentalization standpoint.
You did good.
It's so clear what they're trying to do on the main roster. In NXT, every episode is like some kind of, it's like an employment program. They're wedging everybody on the show in every way that they can. Every episode of NXT, they're like, we got to get 45 to 50 people on this show somehow. And the main roster is way more focused in what they're trying to get over. So in a way that you might not think, it is easier. Honestly, it honestly is a little easier to cover the main roster than it is NXT.
And so much of NXT is a camera happens to be eavesdropping on a conversation between 2 people or 6 people who are trying to hone their acting skills and stand at a 45-degree angle towards each other and also the camera.
Yeah.
I mean, like the Ricky Starks, Ethan stuff. It's just like, I don't know. I would shoot NXT very differently than they do, and I certainly. And I was talking to Rich Fan about this on Sunday on everything. We were talking about the new ROH studio taping. So I was like, please, to be different. And I know Tony Khan told me on the eve of Dynamite's debut, 7 years ago, whatever. He's like, we're never going to have an invisible camera. Like that's just we're never going to have a camera that we don't acknowledge is there, and it isn't presented narratively as if the wrestlers know it's there. And I know for reality TV shows, you pretty much just learn to ignore the camera. And I think that's how I watch NXT is I rationalize the wrestlers there's cameras everywhere. They're used to it and they just talk freely. And you just happen to capture the relevant conversations in 4K, but I would shoot it differently. And I hope ROH, and I'd love for NXT to go back to it, is to have more microphone being held by somebody asking a question and just ask good questions, have a good, more organic response and less of this sort of, I don't know. I always use the Disney Channel, acting with 2 kids in a middle school hallway or high school hallway chatting. But so much of NXT is that. But part of it is, like you said, they just want to give reps to these people. Like, I mean, it's a money making thing. It's on Peacock. It's on CW. They want to make money. They want to draw crowds. But so much of it is have some veterans like Ethan and Ricky, but also try to work with these younger guys and women to get better. Real Legend agrees, says Sam and Megan have really good chemistry with each other. Just a little throwback to that. And GWF ESPN regarding our podcast archives, our hundreds of retro radio shows from the 90s. GWF ESPN says, I love those K-Fan shows. A real VIP highlight. Every other caller just wanted to know if there were 2 Ultimate Warriors.
Oh, God.
Yes. Eric Moy says,
pre-internet area.
how did Wade answer those questions? Did he get sick of them? I mean, yes, probably, but you know, it was fun doing the video.
Yep.
Nate Lindbergh, Kelly, do you see his comment for you?
No,
Yeah,
I missed that.
Kelly, I can see up your nose.
Oh, thanks, buddy.
He's
always good to have you around.
Exactly. Jeez, you know, with friends like that, right?
I gotta stand this way because I broke my tailbone in May and it has not healed. It's not great. It's not what I wanted out of my life, but that's
I've seen you. Our kids.
That's the situation.
Our kids perform at the same high school, and I see you walk. Somehow we end up going to these events at the same time, but on opposite sidewalks, and then converge. And you're always carrying your seat donut.
Yep. I can't wait for the day that I'm just like, I didn't bring my donut, but it doesn't matter. Yeah, sitting is horrible for me. I hope that never happens to you, dear listener.
Well, for me, it's the opposite. I was doing squats just like 14 months ago, just after the holidays. And I had some sort of pinched disc in my back. And it felt the next day like I had done leg workouts and I was sore. This is boring the hell out of everybody, Kelly. Listening, but it's a quick story. So my legs hurt like after you do a bunch of leg work, but it didn't go away like after a few days like it normally does. And so I, saw physical therapist. You go, oh no, you got something pinched back there, and gave me some therapy to do. But my thing is if I sit, I'm comfortable. But when I stand after sitting, then the back of it's only on my right side. I was on both sides for a while till I did the PT. But now it's much better than it was a year ago. But it's still there. So every time I stand, and it happened at the choir concert last week, I was like, oh crap, I've been sitting too long, and I feel like my legs are going to give out. So you can't sit comfortably. I can't stand after sitting comfortably. But otherwise, life's normal.
All right. I mean, we're going to be hanging out in Ireland, and
I'm not going.
You'll be sitting the whole time.
I'm not going.
You're not?
No, I'm not. I'm not going.
You're
are.
Not?
Yeah. No.
Why did I think you were?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, it'd be nice, but no, I can't do that with my job. I'd love to, but yeah.
That's why I thought it was kind of shocking that you were going. I misunderstood that.
Yeah.
I am going.
I know.
The whole time I will text you with you should be here comments.
Okay. Yes. I've got the
so there you go.
I've got the Euro plug converter on its way from Best Buy. The US to UK thing. So yeah, we're in prep mode for that. Anyway,
but he'll be there. So
Bowie
I'll
be there.
I'll send you photos of Bowie. There you go.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. JC Scooby says sciatica is brutal when you can move and have an ambulance take me to the hospital for hard meds. So move and walk. Yeah, move and walk. Yeah, it's like, for me, it's like sciatica. I don't know if it's technically it's like an offshoot of it, but anyway. CJ wants us to talk about Bailey, but sorry. Intentional routing, we'll get to her for sure. I was too young to be a Torch subscriber back then, but I did wonder why Warrior disappeared from WWF. Totally believe WWE's Renegade was actually him, at least initially.
Oh no.
Oh man. If people only knew.
They're both gone. They both went youngish, but they were not similar wrestlers. And then there's the Warrior and Texas Tornado are the same guy thing that was just so frustrating for those of us who had really been immersed in wrestling.
If you got anything on your social media algorithm about Jim Carrey being replaced with someone else, or you bought into the silliness of Joe Biden's been replaced by some, why would they replace a healthy, vibrant Joe Biden with a frail, more frail, weak Joe Biden? If you're going to replace Joe Biden, replace him with a stand-in who actually has more vigor, who the whole thing was just silly. But it's kind of like that, but it was Ultimate Warrior or various spin-offs of it. Social media. All right, Jack Reese says, Wade, you can't brag you did squats a year ago. That is not a flex. I'm not trying to brag. I'm just giving the background on the story. Instant Aviation.
Yeah, you said you were doing squats 13, 14 months ago, and I was like, God, 13, 14 years ago is not enough for me to say I've been doing squats.
Yeah. It was just, it wasn't like with weights on. I was just bending and standing, just, as you're supposed to do. It's apparently if you do it, in your 30s, 40s, and 50s, and you can actually climb stairs in your 70s, 80s, and 90s. So I'm like, well, I should try to do that. And then I got injured. Standard Aviation said, how's your knee, Wade? And Adam Kidd says, great callback, Standard. Yeah, a few years ago, a golden retriever of all dogs charged into my knee sideways. And I thought I had torn my knee. It was going to be like needing surgery, and went to physical therapy for that. Or I don't know. I went to the place where Vikings go when they get hurt, because I live near it in Egan. And they did some tests, and it was sore for a while, but it was fine. But it turned into a bit on the Fix of Todd Martin, where people just would email and ask, and Todd would ask for like months at a time how my knee was. Adam Kidd says, I did squats today. Awesome. All right. Let's shift back.
I got to call one out. Derek Mitchell says Kerry Von Erich had half a foot, and Ultimate Warrior had half a brain.
There it is.
I just wanted to present that without comment and say that I laughed, Derek. That's all.
LOL. Jack Reeves says, Ireland is not in the UK unless you're going to Northern Ireland. I said I'm getting the UK converter plug. That works in the UK, but it also works in Ireland. I wasn't saying. I don't think they have Best Buy. They have a website that says this will allow your phone to charge in the UK, but here's a separate one for Ireland. They're just labeled. I guess they're actually just labeled Euro or Europe or whatever. I don't know. Anyway, semantics. I can't speak out against semantics, so thank you. All right. Let's talk about some of the chat comments, Kelly, and then we'll get to Sean Plichton and CJ LaChapelle, who are standing by to join us as callers. Sean, speaking of Sean, goes, very crazy ending. Punk was very heelish there at the end. Fun show overall. I'll read a few comments and we can kind of comment on them. Darrell just said overall good show tonight. Derek Mitchell says, yeah, Punk is coming off, no pun intended, very punkish, and there's no leg to stand on disrespecting a person's deceased parent, and you think you're in the right. I just think this is Punk being Punk. If you think this is a heel promo from Punk, then you should think every promo Punk has ever done is a heel promo. This might feel a little more personal, and it's an amplified version, but I don't know. This just was, to me, Kelly, this is just Punk being Punk. This was like a bunch of people in the chat said, oh yeah, this seems like he's turning heel. And I'm like, this is how they script Punk constantly, or how Punk scripts himself.
Punk scripts him. Yeah.
Yeah. Yep. All right.
This is the version of Punk that we should be accustomed to. He'll play good guy if he has to, but he'll wear the black hat anytime that. And sometimes I think he does it because it's right for the story. Sometimes I think he does it because he wants to do it. I mean, the psychoanalysis of Punk, Kelly, is he thinks he will fall in. He will just disintegrate if he gives an inch on anything. Yeah. He'll just. Oh yeah, you're right. He had reason to apologize here, and he's right that Roman does, but he does not want to give an inch because that's the way he is. And wrestling persona or not, I know people who are that way, who will not apologize for things they have to apologize for without saying, "I'm sorry that you."
Felt that way.
Yeah. And that's kind of what Punk does. And not only does it work, it soars for wrestling sometimes.
I'm this is getting into the weeds on psychoanalyzing Punk, which I'm not adverse to doing, I'll admit that, but I want to qualify it. I am not a professional, and I do not know enough about his personal life to say that I'm right about this. But I'm saying the TV personas with AJ Lee, it comes across like AJ Lee wrote a book, and like, I don't know if it was most of it, but a bunch of it was about therapy and how good it was for her. And then she comes back to national TV, and it's like, wears t-shirts and that, like, talks about therapy all the time. And I've had people who are friends with Punk going, like, who knew him for a long time, going, people beg Punk to go to therapy. They beg him. They like, it would be so good for him. I don't know if Punk has since gone to therapy, but can you imagine if this was a big passive, if like AJ Lee's book and whole gimmick is this sort of passive aggressive, like, spouse message being sent to the husband, like, therapy works, Phil, therapy works, honey, go to it. But she's like, oh no, I'm just doing it because I believe in it. You do you. I don't know. It crosses my mind sometimes when you have one spouse talking about it so much and then someone else, at least in the past, was told by friends it'd be good for you. And that came up in AEW,
Right.
when people were talking about Punk. That's why it just became something private, kind of, I don't know if private's word, but something more personal and not really part of the public discourse. Certainly became more public with everything that went on with him and the Bucks and Hangman and Tony Khan. All right. Fanner says, I got to say, I was disappointed by the ending. Seems like creative book Punk into a corner, and there's no easy way to walk that line back from last week. Real Legend says, what an ending. Real Legend says, at least someone else is calling out Roman for not apologizing. Sean Plichta, who we'll talk to in a moment, says, yeah, Punk should have apologized to them, but he made good points. Still, he was a jerk at the end. Well, isn't that... That's just modus operandi for him. Fonder says, the best aspect was the spotlight on Roman not really making amends for anything from his heel run. That was a long time coming. Kelly, how big of a deal is that, do you think, for Roman's character, that there wasn't like any kind of like moment in the ring where he's like just a campfire moment? Let's sit around. Let me talk about how bad I feel. I mean, what am I forgetting? I don't think I'm forgetting a moment. And I think if we would have heard it from Roman or the Usos would have defended him, he has not. He was a prick and a jerk and all the things Punk has accused him of being. His character is in canon. I mean, is that a problem for Roman as a babyface, or is that more of a feature than a flaw? He is just unapologetically who he is, just like Punk. That's what makes this dynamic fascinating from two, mega talented talkers.
I'll call it a feature. I think that they know that he has a lot to apologize for, but if he does it on camera, he will feel weak. Even though he's right to actually have to do so. Also, just a reality of Roman's schedule is that, like, when do you fit this in? When do you burn an appearance on Roman making a lot of apologies, and how do you turn that into interesting TV without having it come to something at the end? So yes, they could do that, but that's also a bullet they might be keeping in the chamber, because he does have a lot to apologize for that segment of his career. And they could just decide that if they want a big match between he and Jay down the road, then maybe Jay says, it's true, you never apologized and you have a lot to apologize for. So I think that without the absolute total need to do so, they've already gotten mileage out of it tonight, and they can get more mileage out of it later if they decide that's what he needs. Because if Roman does have another championship run, it's hard to imagine Jay not being part of that again in some way or another. So keeping that bullet in the chamber, I think, might actually be a good idea.
Sean Plitzer just says, very interesting to see where they're going. Intentional rounding says, just going to keep banging the Punk is turning drum. It's been obvious for weeks. I'm glad to see people finally coming around. Fanner responds to that, I think Punk turning seems too obvious at this point. At the risk of repeating myself here, Kelly, I don't think this doesn't come across to me as Punk turning heel. It doesn't mean he's not, but to me, this is just Punk being Punk in a main event WrestleMania situation against a fellow babyface, and it's just Punk being Punk. But when it's aimed not at Drew McIntyre or Seth Rollins, but it's aimed at Roman, it feels like a heel turn to people. But it's the same thing Punk does all the time, and it comes down to Punk is right about Roman. It's just he hammers it in a certain way that you resent him in the end. So just underline your thought on that with these chats. Do you think this is a deliberate step-by-step Punk heel turn and they want fans cheering Roman by the end? Or no, this is a pick-em and it's each guy just making their case and they're both flawed, but they're both right about stuff too?
I'm not sure about a heel turn, but I think that Punk is supposed to play heel for this match.
Or this segment, at least.
In a bygone era that we were both very much a part of, they would not go soft with this. But now they'll test the waters a lot before they actually commit. And if they don't want either one to turn heel forever, they'll just have one lean for a while. And that's not something that they always did in our lifetime of watching wrestling, but that's what I think that they want Punk to be, for all the reasons we've talked about. I think Punk is supposed to be the heel for this match, but it'll be interesting to see if they can get him there, because the fans of both these wrestlers are fervent, to say the least.
Yes. Real Legend says Punk smiling after getting punked in the end was a nice touch. Derek Mitchell says,
"Oh yes, I
you
love that.
You like that? Yeah, yep.
I love that. Yep."
Derek Mitchell says, "There's no delicate way to walk it back. What Punk said last week was unnecessary, even when scripted. You can get under someone's skin talking about a person's deceased relative. Come on, man." Fonner wants to know, would they do something crazy like reunite the Bloodline into a heel faction at Mania to help Roman regain the title? Kelly.
I think that's a you can't go back again Lord of the Rings moment. I don't think so. I think that would reek of desperation if they did it.
Fonner says, I don't really like that the feud appears to be revolving around his comment from last week. I think that was the hot topic in the closing line, and it needed to be addressed, and it makes sense Usos would have a stake in addressing it. But I don't think it's only about that. I mean, Punk continues to talk about if Roman cared about you guys, he'd be here every week. He never apologized how he treated you. That wasn't just about the comment last week. I think there was a lot more going on. So, Bonner, it revolved around it in this segment, but it didn't otherwise. I think when Roman and Punk talk, I think they'll have, 3 to 12 major points that are equal to this one that they hit on. Let's see. Jack Reese says that a Jay heel turn seems like it should have happened before now. I think a nice touch would have been if Punk said, I apologize to you Usos and Alpha, but not Roman. Well, yeah, that is what most people in that situation would be applauded for doing. Yeah. Oh, GWF ESPN says, I can't get over how corny Phil is with the ridiculous hair and cutoff t-shirt and how he grins like he's going to shoot for the internet and calls Usos Roman's young boys. It's just cringy to me. Couple points there. Kelly, what do you think of Punk's hair?
It looks like a guy holding on to something, but so do I sometimes. So whatever. I can dig that.
I want to get a perm.
He's putting a lot of effort into it. I thought the Roman's Young Boys was a strong line to get these guys pissed off. I can see 100% how GWF thinks that this is a tryhard, for sure. But that is just kind of, I think that's probably an occupational hazard of the fact that they've got 4 main eventers for WrestleMania and the youngest one is 40. I just, that's how I feel about that. They're going to feel a little bit out of touch until they really get their back behind one of these young guys. And we'll talk about that a little later, because I think they've got their best young prospect on this show winning a match.
Yeah. You do you think CM Punk should get a perm, by the way?
A perm?
Yeah, I mean, would that be better than what we're seeing now?
It would not, but I'd be on board for the laughs.
Yeah. If we could only picture what something like that would look like.
Folks, you got to join us live.
Oh, yep.
Because
there we are, about 50 minutes into the YouTube show. CM Punk with a perm. It's I don't know. Is it that or my Bosch fridge? What looks better?
They're both. They're both just absolutely beautiful in different ways.
All right. There we have it. All right. So back to comments here. Fanner says they need to move past the relative comment by next week and just focus on the hatred between Punk and Roman. No need to continue hammering it multiple weeks in a row. Yeah, I don't think they'll belabor the point.
No.
Yeah. Let's see. Derek Mitchell says Punk sure isn't endearing himself. As Sika could see or hear what Punk is saying, why would he think his son Roman is lying? Manipulative, politicking. and the son of a bitch. TP. All right. So with that, let's see. Durrell says Punk didn't lie though because Roman never said sorry either, and stay out of grown folks' business. Sean Plichta says Punk didn't lie on that part at all, but he still should have apologized to them for what he said about their dad. Exactly. Kavanti Smalls says the main event promo segment did more for the Usos than Punk or Roman. It gave them their edge back. I think that's true. Then Fonder says this lost a bit of momentum with Roman's absence. The Usos aren't just an adequate substitute for Roman's energy. Intentional Rounding says, I'm sorry for everything, but the thing you asked me to apologize for is such an old trope in wrestling and entertainment and life. Before the Usos came out, Derek Mitchell points out, CM Punk said he did lower himself to Roman's levels last week. That's the thing. It's where someone's about to say something and they get interrupted. It's like, just finish what you're saying. We want to see what you're going to say, but I get that. Derek also says, understood, but honestly, it's not Punk's business if Roman apologized publicly or privately to his cousins, the Usos. He should mind his business. Is Punk now the apology police? Jack Reeves says, I don't want to see another Punk title run, but I think he might win at Mania, but I have had enough of part-time champions after around 8 years in total, if you include Brock's reign before the Bloodline. Durrell says, he's not the apology police, but they brought him in when they came up telling him something that didn't have anything to do with them. Let's see. Jean Pierre, the artist, says Jay looked like a main eventer. And Sean says, yeah, I really love Serious Jay. And Jean Pierre says, Mike skills on point. Another comment here. Intentional Booking says, not to be overlooked is that Jimmy called him Phil too, so that he doesn't respect Punk either, unlike Jay, who specifically said he respects Punk. Kelly, do you think Jimmy...
I definitely clocked that he said Phil.
Yeah.
And I think that was just a moment to be like, hey, this is real here. I think they're going for the old slight worked shoot, but they don't want to hit it so hard that it turns people off. But yeah, I definitely noticed that he called him Phil.
What do you think the difference between Jay and Jimmy's attitudes is towards Punk? How would you explain it to someone who's not following or half watching?
I would say that because I'm so plugged in, I would say Jay's reaction is more important, regardless of what they're doing, because he's the guy who makes more of a difference. But Jay is going to be more hot-headed, more this is weird because this is not what I thought that these guys would settle on a handful of years ago. But Jimmy's more measured, and his job is to be background, but ready to be in a big spot if necessary. So yeah, I'll back up Jay, and I'll keep him cool if necessary. But Jay's thing is to be more hot-headed about it, and I don't know if that fits their characters. I feel like it doesn't, but because Jay is the bigger deal, that's what you've got to do with them right now.
Yeah. Jay in Hartford, by the way, says, nothing about this seems like Punk is turning. Intentional Ronnie goes, yeah, like I said, Punk's character has always been a megalomaniac, but this feels different from the clear babyface he's been since he returned. Maybe he's gone, that phrase we don't say on the show, because they asked him to. Derek Mitchell says, Punk reminds me a lot of Aaron Rodgers. Both are very condescending, act like they're the smartest guy in the room, come across as off-putting. Rodgers said he didn't get vaccinated, but immunized. So there we are. Standard Deviation says this segment felt like it was written 2 years ago. Jay and Hartford goes, there's an easy out for Punk. Apologize. I meant no disrespect to Sika, but Roman's still a jerk. Exactly. I mean, that is, but I don't think they wanted him to be that big, and that is the argument in favor of them wanting to have fans side against him or have a bunch of them side against him and have him be a heel, is that there was an easy out. That said, that's not CM Punk. This is not. Real Legend goes, agreed, Wade. Punk thinks he's right, and if you demand something of him, he'll pretend to do it and double down on what he thinks is right. Jay in Hartford goes, such a great ending to Raw, though. Punk is not turning heel, but the Usos are right. Standard Deviation says, say you're sorry chants were unexpected. That would surprise me too, Kelly. Loud say you're sorry chants.
Yeah, and Not a bad thing, because I can see fans. Well, I wouldn't say not a bad thing, but unexpected things, because I can see fans joining together on this specifically. But yeah, anytime that Roman's not actually there, I think there are going to be unexpected chants and things like that, and that's kind of the problem here.
A couple other comments, then we'll get to Sean. Punk is definitely the old guy, still trying to be cool with the young guys. They're laughing at you, not with you. Jay in Hartford says, last week and this week were great, but can we please stop calling Punk Phil on the air? It's not adding to the already fantastic mic work. You have to think Punk doesn't think it's okay to call him Phil without his explicit permission for that to work. But it is kind of weird. Like, if I'm Punk, like, you just go, you're calling me Phil, which is fine. It doesn't bother me. I prefer in this context to be called Punk. But if you think you're getting under my skin, you're not. You're just looking like you're trying to, and it's not working. Like, I mean, Punk could say that, but again, I don't know if people believe him, because I think people think just about anything gets under Punk's skin.
Yeah, if it's no sold, then I don't know why they're doing it at all. Why have him do it if Punk doesn't recognize it?
Yeah. Well, Standard Deviation says, I think he's been called Phil way too much for it to be a thing anymore. I think there's something to that. All right, let's bring Sean Plitch into the show and see what he wants to talk about on this episode. We'll certainly cover everything else on this show, or most everything else, in the next block, and maybe Sean will lead us to some of those discussions. Sean, welcome. Good to see you again.
Yeah, good to be back in. I have to say, I did enjoy being in the chat for a while, because I feel like usually when I call in, I get in the chat, but then it's like, all right, I have stuff I want to say, so I'll just talk about it. But it was fun to be in the chat there for a week and a half. It was nice to actually sit in there and just chat with everybody. Yeah. Kelly, I missed you, man. How have you been? I've missed you, man. I've missed you, my friend.
I've been very good. I've been very busy. The collectibles market is through the roof. I'm making a lot more money than I ever have in the past. and that's great. But it's a lot more work than it has been in the past as a result. So all good things. Thanks, Sean.
That mint Gretzky rookie card that you gave that guy who was desperate $100 for is why you're rich.
Yeah,
that's true.
$100. Yeah.
I shouldn't joke about that. Integrity is a big thing in what you do.
Yeah, he would. He'd be right to come back and murder me.
Yes. Admissible in court. But he said it was okay. Yeah.
Oh man, that's funny. Go VIP, everyone. I'll say that right up front. Going back just to, we've talked about Punk and all that so much, but at the same time, still have a few little thoughts on it. As far as Jimmy did say before that he respects Punk. He did say that in the promo, that he does respect him. So they both said they respect him. But at the same time, I understand the whole thing about, Punk being Punk. I'm with you, Wade. Punk can be Punk. You can still have a bravado. You can still think you're better than all that. You can still do all those things and just apologize when you can still do it and still get to your point and have a bravado about you. I don't understand why you can't apologize, but and not have bravado. You still can. You can say Roman's a jerk, blah, 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 all these things, and I'm bigger, blah, 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 but say, I'm sorry for the way I said it. The way I used it wasn't correct, but Roman's still an idiot, and Roman should have apologized to you guys. But
where's Kit Wilson when you need him?
But then the thing that drove me crazy was him just stuffing the mic in Jay's chest. It's like, come on, dude. Like, that's not a way to handle that. Mm-hmm. You can be a good person and make your point in a cool way without having to do. That was the only thing that I think got me at the end when he did that. I was like, okay, saying they're Roman's young boys, and just after he's been saying for weeks backstage how much he respects Jay and how much he wishes they would have treated him, or Roman would have treated them better, but you didn't think, oh, he doesn't like them or he feels above them to that kind of extent. You know what I'm saying? So I didn't really get that part of it. Did that hit you when he stuffed the mic in his throat, in his chest? That's what kind of got me at the end too.
I mean, you got two people in his face, calling him out. Right? Yeah, calling him out for something he said that he should be apologetic for. But in Punk's world, and Punk's character is built on this, and I think people who cheer him and admire him and buy his merch have to own it. Mm-hmm. What you got from Punk is who Punk is. Like that, he wouldn't be Punk if he didn't shove the mic and take an unreasonable, just lash out at somebody who's being reasonable, but he didn't like the tone or the 2-on-1 approach or doing it publicly or not not saying, like, in Punk's mind, I think I think the defense for Punk would be, and Punk's defense, I will say, would be, don't ask me to apologize unless you're also going to first admit that Roman owes you more of an apology than I do. And so he's hung up on that. Like, why should I apologize when Roman has more reason to apologize? Well, if you think you owe an apology, don't make it conditional. Apologize. And then afterwards, after a firewall, you leap over, there's this genuine apology, deep breath. Now, I think you guys should think about this. Now that you got the apology from me out of the way, and you were owed it, and I gave it to you, I look you in the eye and I mean it.
Then
I think Roman owes you an apology too. Maybe talk to him next week. He could have. So yeah, you're right. But that's not a turning point in Punk's character. That's just who he is.
No, and Kelly, like Kelly brought up, and I appreciate what you said, but it just drives me crazy. Like, oh, we just want Punk to be a heel for this match. I hate that. I hate that. Have two good guys.
I know you do. We've talked before about leaning, and I'm okay with the lean, but I also have seen every episode of NXT, and they have to lean for a while because they don't know what they're going to do on the main roster. So I might be forgiving of the heel lean or the face lean more than most.
Well, that's fair. The NXT part is fair. I think two faces, two good guys, in as they're portraying them, can have bravado and can do all those things and think even have a little bit of arrogance, but not cocky. Have arrogance, think I'm the best, but in a fun way, in an interesting way, without being dicks to each other. I just don't see why you have to be jerks to each other just because, we have bravado and, we got to do all this. I just don't understand. That's why I'm with Wade. I've always been. I don't like all these face matchups. I don't like them because I want a good guy that I can get behind and a bad guy that I want to hate. And they're not doing that right now. They're doing a lot of mixed, like, who are we supposed to cheer for? Who are we supposed to boo? I don't want that in most cases. And this is driving me nuts. I don't want Roman to win the title. I say that right now. I don't. Jay said it. Mm-hmm. Or Jack said it. I don't want part-time champions. We've had that for years. We don't need that anymore. We want a guy that is Punk. It seems weird saying it from him, like, I'm the fighting champion. It does feel weird from him to say that. But I do want a guy that's there, whoever it is, Punk or anybody, there every week, cutting promos, getting you behind them, investing in their story. That's what I want. I don't want Roman who's there once every 2 months. I don't want that as my champion anymore. I know maybe everybody in the chat disagrees, and that's okay. That's me personally. I don't want that.
Yep. Let me wedge this comment in on tangential to this topic about the exchange here. Derek Mitchell said, as a reminder, Jimmy did tell Punk you're the voice of the voiceless, but Sika doesn't have a voice. Jan Hartford said, yes, that was such a good line.
It was.
Derek says, yeah, it was. I thought it was the most underrated line of the promo. So just throw that in there too. Using someone's catchphrase or motto or mantra against them, lands, can really land. Real Legend adds, he probably would have apologized if the Usos didn't demand it. I feel the promo was leading to an apology until the Usos came out. I think that's a reason, but not an excuse. Punk could go, hey, I was about to apologize. I was going to feel good about it. I feel less good about it now that you guys came out and got in my face and interrupted me when I was clearly about to genuinely apologize. But that doesn't change the fact I'm a grown-up. I'm not 9. I understand just because I don't like that you guys came out here and got in my face that I still don't owe you the apology I was going to give you 5 minutes ago. So I want to genuinely give it to you. But with the caveat being, I'm still kind of pissed at you guys for how you handled this. There's all kinds of ways to just get past being, punkish about it. So anyway, Sean, what else?
Yeah, so I do want to change topics because there were so many other good things on the show that I did like. First, I want to bring up the Vaquer vignette. Loved it. That's what we should be seeing from this Liv and Vaquer feud and these, these back and forths. Like, that was a mixture of English and Spanish, but it really told like why Stephanie's mad at Liv, like why she respects Liv for what she's done to work hard to get where she's gotten, but now she's using shortcuts, she's using Dom to get in her way, she's using all those things all about money and all this stuff. But she's going to show who the best is and that she's the best. And I loved it. I really enjoyed, even though I don't think Stephanie's winning, but I like where she's going, at least right now, because I think had dropped the ball when she won the title. But I think this is a good feud for her, because I do think the match will deliver. And I think this was a good way to kind of start, and hopefully Liv will have a good, comeback, next week or in the week after. But I really like what they did here with Stephanie. What did you guys think about that?
You're talking Kelly. You're talking on two that came up on a good show with Kelly, the co-host, as co-host.
Yes.
I will briefly say I thought the Vicaire was the best presentation of Stephanie Vicaire yet in WWE. Kelly.
I'm more or less in love with her. Very psyched with what she did. It's going to be tough with presentation for her because she's good-ish with English and is very good in these segments. One of my favorite things on the show was her on the TurboTax commercial, because the TurboTax commercial promotes what she's really good at. I dig that they are doing this. I would love for more of this to be able to happen in the ring, but there was a lot happening for Stephanie in those pre-recorded things and with Liv in the things that were not just about Liv, but were about Dominic and everybody else. So I understand why they didn't blow all those moments on screen here. So I think that this is very strong from a character standpoint for both of them. That this can be really good for both of them.
For people to see it too, the line, like the key thing with Vicaire was that you have been so privileged, and you don't know how good you are, and you lean on other people to help you. You see yourself as a dumb blonde, so you take shortcuts. The funny thing is, Liv, I see more in you than you see in yourself.
Yeah,
that's a babyface psychoanalysis line, and it was gracious, but also a guilt trip, but also kind of like maybe someday you'll believe in yourself like I do. But in the end, she's like, I'm going to bring blood, sweat, and all my experience and use it to make history, because you're used to taking shortcuts. And I'm aware of that, and it won't work on me. But the whole theme of we took different roads, but we both have the skill, deserve to be where we are. And that she was brought up with privilege, whereas Liv was, whereas she was, living in mud huts. And that built her character. I mean, and then I popped for, the thing that bothers me most is your stupid laugh. I mean, like that's bugged me about Liv. Forever. Johnny Fairplay with Jason Powell on Pro Wrestling Boom podcast earlier this week was just like, think like it's, Johnny's wonderful, but he just thinks every person would think Liv Morgan is the embodiment of the ultimate sexual desired human being on this planet.
Right.
Like, and it's like, and he's saying that in contrast, like Rhea Ripley and others. It's like, listen to Kelly talk about Vicaire. Like, so it's just like with Johnny. It's just like Johnny happens to be attracted to
Liv is a far second most sexy person.
They're both
match.
very attractive. I'll just say that they're both very attractive. Either way.
Stop. Liv, I would never even notice if Stephanie was in the room.
I mean, I'm kind of with you. I lean more towards Stephanie if I had to choose one or the other. But I mean, I think they're both fine.
But I did. I was chuckling listening to Johnny when I was walking my dog, and he's like, "Oh, gosh." Just the way he just thinks like it's just open shut. Liv's the hottest creature on this planet, and anybody else like they have to push her because I mean, look at her. That was his argument. Look at her. It's like, Johnny, different people register different to different people.
Top 10 in the company. Come on, man.
But her laugh has always been like, what is that? Like before she got over, I mean, she's super talented. She's being, utilized great here. But my God, her laugh and to have someone actually call her out for it, like Stephanie Becerra to do it. I thought they mixed in English and Spanish and subtitles really well. Like this was really well done. And I think made the match feel bigger because now there's a backstory. There's more of a backstory now with what they did this week, especially that vignette. But overall, with what they did, it's just now. I mean, we talked a bunch about Punk and the Usos, and deservedly so. But I think more was done to bring that match up to WrestleMania standards than any kind of boost was given to Punk and Roman, even as good as it was and as much as I praised it. Liv and Raquel needed something, and they got it.
Yeah, struggle versus privilege is always going to work, and that's what this was. I like that they brought a lot of shots of her as a kid in this. Very meager beginnings to her life. And this I think is what this needed because Judgment Day, especially as it is now, is supposed to be about silver spoons, and I really dug what they did toward this, and I think that this will be an underrated gem at WrestleMania.
Yeah.
I hope people didn't speed through it or ignore it. Like it's on Netflix. Like it's probably going to be republished online. What else, Sean?
So we'll just lead that into what happened with Finn and Dom and that whole thing. I loved everything about that too. I love the backstage. Dom's like, I got to get something off my chest. Kind of needs to talk to Finn, but they've already had this back and forth a little bit, but Finn kind of was like, okay, I'm standing by who I am. Like, you need to do this on your own if you're going to be the best Mysterio, whatever. And it made Finn still feel strong, even though they kind of turned on him. It still made Finn a sympathetic figure in a good way, not just they turned on him. I just love the way they did that, and I love the way JD turned. I love the way they did that. I loved everything about this. The Judgment Day, again, I never thought I would be into this for so long as I have. And they still make it work, and it's still fun. And I'm into a Dom Finn match. I think it's going to be good. I want to know what you guys thought about the segment tonight. But what about the Dom Finn at Mania? Do you think this could be a match where the Demon comes out now that he is a face? And what do you think? How that all transpired?
Kelly.
He has said a lot of times that the Demon would never come back. So this is the perfect time for the Demon to come back. I think that this could happen. I just can't believe, frankly, that Finn turned with no warning. I'm psyched that this finally happened, that we had a reason to get into this, and Finn looks like a really sympathetic character. He just got totally beat down. He's got nobody in his corner, and they even called out that JD McDonough could have been in his corner for so many reasons, but isn't. So it seems like they love Finn, and what I want to say is they know how old he is, but Finn is younger than all four guys that are going to be in the main event of the two championship matches. So I dig what they did here. Finn has just been so great at doing whatever they ask, and has visited the main event so many times in matches that we knew he'd lose, but we knew he'd gain something from. So I don't know how much at this stage of his career he can gain, but I think it's worth finding out.
Real Legend says, to your point, Kelly, I thought Finn. Oh, I'm sorry. He says, I thought Finn is older than Cody.
That might be right. No. I didn't look it up.
They're close.
I know the age of the four guys who were in the championship matches. I don't know Finn's.
Yeah, Finn's 44. So.
Wow.
Oh, so he's older than two of the four. Okay.
Yep, Cody and Roman. Yep. Good catch. Good catch. Half a catch. Real Legend. You missed one, but sure. But you're better than Kelly, who was wrong on 2 of them. You're better than me because I just let it fly by without
I will
processing it.
never show up on this show again. How dare you?
You're on suspension for 2 weeks. All right, so lots of people just gang tag like Derek Mitchell. Cody's 40, Finn's 44, says Derek Mitchell. I might have been inferring a tone there. Sorry. Lots of comments on Finn, but also going back to Liv and Stephanie in the chat. Let me just, if you'll indulge me, Sean, for a moment, I'll throw a couple of these up. Jay in Hartford goes, it's fun when people are involved in multiple stories. Love seeing Liv involved in the Finn beatdown, but knowing she's feuding with Stephanie Vaquer. Kavanti Small says, now that both Liv and Vaquer have made their declarative promo, it'll be interesting to see how Triple H will continue the momentum for the next 5 weeks. Yes, I'm interested in that too. I don't know if they need to do a lot more, but they will. Yeah. Real Legend says she said so-called mud huts. Yeah, just I don't know if he's responding to me saying she said mud huts and I didn't include so-called, but yes. Kavanti Small says Vaquer's promo was good. Julia needs that treatment too. Kelly, thoughts on Julia's presentation compared to Vaquer?
Yeah, this is weird to talk about because I always thought that Steph had more long-term potential than Julia, even though Julia came in with more cachet. I think they're both great for so many reasons, but I thought that Steph would be visually easier to get than Julia, if that makes sense. I think that Julia will need a mouthpiece for a while. And that'll be good for her. And she, which is weird to say about somebody who speaks 3 languages, but that is the situation. She has confidence in all of them, but she just is not visually a star on the level of Steph, which I thought was going to be a big stumbling block for her. So I'm not surprised that Julia needs a little more work.
Can I ask Kelly something real quick? Why, if Julia knows English so well, I mean, that's what I've heard. Julia is really good at speaking English. Why does she need Kiana or anybody to talk for her? I don't understand. Like, if you're building her to be, or initially the plan was to bring her in as a big deal. If she's better than Stephanie at speaking the language, I don't understand why just not let her use the English language. I don't understand. Like, why does she have to do all this stuff and have Kiana with her? It doesn't make any sense to me.
I don't know that I would agree that Julia is better at English than Stephanie. I think that they are similar-ish. I think that there is a problem of confidence in that arena, and I think that the fact that Julia has a crutch is a thing for her. I can't quantify this, because I don't know, but I feel like Stephanie is more willing to put herself into the fire. I can't tell you that for sure. I don't know that. I haven't talked to them, but I really feel like that is the difference between them. I think that there is a confidence mismatch, and that is part of the reason for what has happened here. But for whatever reason, this is what I thought would happen. I thought that Stephanie would soar, and that hopefully Julia would, but she'd have a bigger hill to climb.
A couple of the comments here, Sean, in the chat. Sandy Patient says, discussing attractiveness, this conversation is toxic.
Well played.
Jay in Hartford says, Liv's laugh is the worst, but somehow more bearable the last couple of years. I agree with that. Derek Mitchell says, of course Johnny Fairplay would think Liv Morgan is super hot with her Wilma Flintstone or Betty Rubble laugh. There we go.
I love talking with Johnny. I love it. I love getting it.
Liv's laughing ain't as bad as Mercedes' laugh. Ha ha.
That's true.
Ha-ha.
That's fair.
What about
That's fair.
Ricochet? CJ LaChapelle says on hotness after Bailey, give me AJ Lee. So we're getting our top 1, 2, 3 list here. Derek Mitchell says 2 of the phony laughs along with Stephen A. Smith laughing when discussing the Cowboy. I don't watch enough of him to know.
Yeah, don't.
Yeah, that's what I hear. Why would JD be? What would JD's reasoning be for turning on Finn to side with Dom and the rest of the Judgment Day? That is, I think, a good question. Is he kind of like Danny Garcia? There's just no moral rudder to his life. He just follows somebody who he sees as a leader. And if that's the case, then maybe you'd say, well, shouldn't he then side with Balor, 44-year-old veteran, instead of sticking with Dom, Liv, and Raquel? And yeah, I don't know. I mean, I tried to talk myself into a plausible answer, but I talked myself out of it. You'd think as a follower, he'd stick with Finn. So he's just I don't know. He's just a flawed dude who he has more fun with Dom because he's his generation. I don't know. JD's seems like he'd share more in common with Dom. Kelly?
Yes, I was actually disappointed that JD didn't follow Finn, but it's better for Finn that he didn't because now he's one amongst many, against many. The reason really is that it's better for Finn if JD doesn't, and JD doesn't matter that much. But I think that the kayfabe reason will be that JD will say there's more people over here than there are over there. And I think it'll be that simple.
As far as Kiana goes, a couple comments on her. Derek Mitchell says, I don't think she needs Kiana. Julia needs Kiana to speak for her, but rather a way to use Kiana James. And now Kiana has surpassed Julia, even with Julia being U.S. champion. Nashville Diaz says, Kiana, welcome, Nashville Diaz. Kiana would be much better off on her own. Goodfella says, yeah, Kiana's winning me over more than Julia. Kelly, what do you think?
I mean, yes, now, but we didn't see that coming. Kiana's NXT run was iffy.
It was okay.
There were some ups, there were tons of downs. I wanted to believe in her, but there were a lot of reasons to think that she was well underneath the top women there. But I'm psyched to see this. It happens every now and then, like Liv, like Raquel, where somebody was not good in NXT, and they found their footing on the main roster, and I'm psyched to see that happening for Julia, for Kiana, who has put up with a lot of injuries and whatnot.
Jay in the chat says, Julia is not being presented in a way to make me care. I'm trying, but it's hard. She needs more mic time.
Yeah.
Off topic says Vegas Jeezy, but I will see the Kelly Wells at the Dallas Card Show on Friday.
I will be there. Will you? I guess it's up to you.
He says I'll see you there.
I will definitely be there, working 10 hours on Friday and then hosting a party on Friday night in the presidential suite. So
sweet.
If you're there, if you're not, I will be there either way.
Sean, CJ wants to talk Bailey, and he has to get to bed. Anything else you want to sneak in before we go, or do you want to just talk in the chat?
Well, I was going to say I'll talk in the chat, but please bring up Seth after CJ, because I want to hear what you guys thought about that. That was interesting, so I just want to hear your thoughts on that.
Give us. We won't talk about Seth yet. We'll go to CJ, but tell us what you thought about Seth.
No, I really don't know, honestly. I thought last week was good. I thought what he did to Heyman was very interesting.
Did they update Heyman's condition?
No, they said nothing about Heyman.
Yeah,
no.
They showed the video of him bloodied,
but they didn't go, here's an update, or we tried to get word if he's okay and he's not. No one knows, like nothing. It was just Yeah, it's almost like they wrote him off last week. Like his contract ran out and he's gone. Like we're not going to talk about it anymore.
I didn't really love all the, I'm assuming just all jobbers wearing masks. I don't like that kind of thing. I mean, I see why Seth did it at the end because he was trying to get away from the vision and stuff. But I don't know where they're going. I'm intrigued though. I don't know where they are. That's why I'm curious what you guys thought about it, because I really didn't know just watching it. It
All
was
right,
interesting.
we'll get to it.
But
Yep.
yeah, CJ, get on there, man. Talk about some Bailey. Good to talk with you guys. Always fun.
Thanks, Sean. Appreciate it.
See us.
All right, CJ, welcome.
Hey, Kelly. Hey, Wade.
Everybody who listens to the Wade Keller post show was smiling for you when Bailey got the win tonight. CJ's having a good week. It's good. Nothing can bring you down. I know it's you got ups and downs in your life, but this is buoying, as they might say. Tell us your thoughts.
Yes, thanks to Lyra. Finally, Bailey gets a decent win. Yeah, that match was awesome. AJ and Bailey will cook. It's the same as happening on a random Raw. That's definitely a Mania or another big PLE match-worthy match. I've been looking forward to this for a while. They had the one NXT match a long, long time ago, but yeah, this match is going to be fire. My two favorite women, wrestling-wise, obviously. But yeah, I can see this going many, many ways. There's rumors Lyra going heel soon. What do you think, Wade and Kelly? What are you feeling on that?
There was that little moment at the end of the Bailey-Lyra Love Fest, although we can't call it that because Io and Rhea have redefined it at a level no one else can reach. But like where Bailey sort of hesitated, or there's something about, I'll give you another chance, and she kind of said something where you could imagine the heel, if Lyra turns heel, her justification will be Bailey said something, but it felt like lip service that she pulled back on, and I didn't know what to make of it, so therefore I'm justified in going off on my own. Kelly, what do you think?
I thought it's something close to that. I think that Lyra should understand that Bailey is as good as her word right now in the version of Bailey that we're seeing right now. So I don't know why Lyra wouldn't help Bailey win. I think that it is more likely that that Lyra knows that she's next in line if Bailey wins, and she tries to help her win, and it backfires. I would say that is more likely for what is next week. For whatever it's worth, I thought that Bailey was the most likely to win this week. I just think that she is, even though she's done everything, she feels like the freshest opponent here of what they had. I liked the way that this was booked in general. Io very, very protected. Ivy gets to score a pin, which she does not get to do very often, and Bailey gets to beat two people. So I think that this ate up an hour, which is great.
The women's gauntlet match, yeah,
and yeah, and I think that that was cool, but I would say I'm going to assume that Bailey has it kind of in hand, and Lyra accidentally costs this win, just based on what I saw in the post match this week. But big Bailey fan. Asuka's actually my favorite wrestler, so bummer that she lost. But psyched that she did what she did for Bailey. And I did think Bailey would win this. So, but yeah, for now, I'm expecting this to be a moment that breaks up Bailey and Lyra.
CJ, by the way, sorry for just waiting for Kelly to stop and then jumping into this. Have you ever had a perm?
No.
Oh man, with your hair, I mean, you'd give CM Punk a run for his money. You grow that out, get a perm. I did my work on you. I'm just saying. One of these days, this gotta get back in.
The day.
But yeah. I mean, I think the perm should come back.
Maybe.
If I never see that photo again, I might be happier.
All right. I mean,
So do you think they're totally
let's just say it
done?
used a lot of water to come up with that, so we should get some use out of it.
Soul glow, dude. Soul glow.
Go ahead, CJ.
Do you think they're totally done with Bailey's split personality thing?
People in the chat want to know, what was the point of all of that? Jay in Hartford says, I'm all for the slow burn, but this Bailey story's really been drug out. What was the point of conflicted Bailey? It went nowhere. Do you think, Kelly, and I haven't, maybe there's some reporting on this, that they just felt like it was tasteless. It was making fun of mental health, and they got some pushback from some organization or fans, and they just decided, it's not worth it. Or they felt like sometimes a story goes a certain way, or you have an intention of where it goes, and then you see as the story's being told, wait, like if the plan was to break up Charlotte and Alexa right away, and they're like, no, this is good. Let's do this. Is actually working. Let's not, cash in a turn or a split. That could be it too. What do you think, Kelly?
I think the story's over. I felt strongly with the post-match and the fact that they did not even really acknowledge it. I think it's over. I think they just decided to pitch that. Whatever's going on with her and Lyra exists, but the other stuff is over.
I guess when Lyra turns on her, they could, have her, festus up and snap a bit, and the fans cheer, as opposed to, being worried if they do get people sympathizing with Bailey against Lyra.
I've brought up Festus on PWTorch NXT. I can't believe you're doing so now.
Yep. All right, CJ. Sean Plichta says in the chat, Lyra Bailey's a fun Mania match. I mean, there's a long backstory there. You want matches to feel WrestleMania worthy when they happen, and part of that is just it's a long time coming, and they haven't burned us out before they got to it. And there was a journey with a good landing place, and maybe that's where this is.
So do you think it's pretty unlikely they could split them up but keep them friends? Do they really have to turn on each other?
Yeah, they don't have to. I mean, Kelly, they don't have to do a hard turn. I mean, there could be tension.
Loving them together now. I'm really falling in love with Lyra.
Yeah. Yep. Kelly?
Yeah, I don't think that they have to split up. I think that that's the most likely ending for them, to split and to be against one another, but they don't have to now. Right now, it's just a TV storyline, and in some years, I would say it doesn't have to graduate to a WrestleMania storyline, but they got 2 long nights to fill, and I think that they will find a way to make this a WrestleMania match, which, even though it's a bummer in some ways, I think that's a good thing for both of these performers.
What else, CJ, if anything?
Do you think when they were doing the split personality, I was thinking we might see even if it's a one-off, the return of the hugger. Do you think that's still a possibility?
Yeah, I do. What do you think, Kelly?
Oh, I don't want to get excited for it because I loved the hugger.
Everybody's everything. I need the whole way.
But again,
ponytail, everything.
Again, I'm going to go Lord of the Rings and say you can't go back again. I don't think.
Breaking my heart, Kelly.
Oh, I know I am. And CJ, you're like a stained glass window. I don't want to kick you in, but I can't say that I see that for sure. But if we do, I will be so psyched for you.
All right, CJ. I know it's late for you. Anything else you want to say before we move on?
I'm good. But good. Thank you.
You'll sleep well. Thanks, CJ.
Yes. Have a great night, Wade and Kelly.
Yeah.
Cheers, man.
I mentioned VIP membership earlier. Just quick plug. PWTorch.com/GoVIP. On Saturday, I wrote a new Wade Keller news bulletin. There were 3 of them last week. It is a VIP exclusive feature. Comes in audio format, PDF format, or written format. And I laid out, based on just multiple sourcing, what the timings was and the rationale was for what we saw Friday on SmackDown with the title change and essentially where they're going with it and what's up in the air and what isn't, as best I was able to ascertain. And that was the cover story. So if you're wondering, was that last second? Was it planned from the beginning? I got into that in detail. So that's one of the perks of VIP membership are these Wade Keller news bulletins. I want to do them as often as I can, and as long as my schedule allows, I'd love to get to a point where I'm doing 7 of them a week. I really enjoy that format and the presentation where there's a main news story that's half the page, and then some news and note stuff with some insider insights, sort of random stuff that I might pick up or something I'm doing, like with Rhea and the War of Words with Jade Cargill, and I gave some insight on that. I know there's a lot of conflicting reports out there, and I tried to mediate that a bit with what I was hearing, and then also my end notes, random thoughts, or editorial on the right side. On the right column. And again, if you're not into reading it, it shows up as a podcast on our podcast feed too. So that's part of VIP membership. It's a new feature in recent months, and we had 3 of them last week. So check it out, pwtorch.com/govip, whether you're in this for podcasting or if you're listening to us, you probably are, but you can also read those pretty quick when they come out, and they're posted exclusively on the ad-free VIP website. Okay, so back to Raw Kelly. We have an email from Cavante that I'll read here. After rewatching every Raw and SmackDown from the night after No Way Out 2001 up to WrestleMania 17, I was reminded of how thoughtful WWE booking used to be, especially regarding its pacing. The shows began with a brief hype package, opening credits and pyro, showing an energetic crowd, followed by an opening match or a major promo segment, forwarding a story beat for an upcoming pay-per-view match. Tonight's Raw opening sequence reminds me of why things have felt continually flat. Wrestlers on their phones are carrying luggage every week, a recap video, and then a slow pan showing a lifeless crowd. The opening promo segment, usually overstaying its welcome, feels more like a choreographed boardroom meeting. More of an observation than a question. Kelly, it's what happened before the Seth Rollins segment. This covers that, but it also talks broader than just this week. Are they overdoing it? Like, I watched like the scene of Vegas where WrestleMania is going to be, the scene from the Space Needle outside the arena. Fans arriving. I love that. I think every sport does it. Every single national broadcast of every sport does it for a reason. We do not have to be short attention span, play to the short attention spans of the modern audience. They in this environment now, I think they've done their research. People who tune in stick around. They don't tune out because they set the scene for 3 minutes and let you see who's on the show. I think it makes it seem like wrestlers are big stars. They're celebrities. You get to see them in a different environment, casually on their phone. I love the CM Punk one, by the way, because it showed, see, CM Punk's in a good mood. Roman is wrong. He's not just sulking backstage. He's happy. Someone's talking to him who likes him, and they told him a joke, and now he's laughing. It felt like a little overcompensation, but that's a parenthetical. All that said, I think they push it a little. I do. I love that they do it. I wish they got through it a little quicker. And got to what Cavante's saying, which is, let's get in the ring. Especially because this week they had the Paul Heyman video package, which they could have shortened up. And they also didn't deliver any kind of update or acknowledgement that I recall, and no one else has said there was, in case I missed it, on Heyman's condition, or did LA Knight abandon him? Is he out? Is he in with Darby in the desert somewhere? I don't know. You won't know that, Kelly, because you don't watch AEW. But so what do you think of that? Yeah, what do you think of the opening few minutes? And then we'll get into the Seth segment as I promised Sean we would.
They love this in NXT. They love going through people arriving at the show and long shots of them just walking with their gear. And what have you? They seem to like the reality, quote unquote, of them showing up with all their stuff, and somehow that adds to the reality of the show. on the main roster, I think that's probably less. There's less to be gained by that, because you're supposed to believe that they're larger than life and things like that. So just because it worked in NXT, I'm not so sure that it works in on the main roster.
There is no
proper.
parking lot in the world I'm more familiar with than outside NXT TV studios.
Oh my God! Yes, yeah, I know.
Yes.
I am in a parking lot.
It's like if you go,
I'm,
if you're in that area, I gotta go visit the parking lot. Even if NXT doesn't have a show,
Yeah.
I gotta take a selfie in this parking lot.
right,
Like
and
the Street Profits made, that's where they drove.
and they don't always write those stories week to week because they don't know what kind of parking lot they're dealing with. So yeah, it's
Okay. So
It's it.
Seth Rollins, and we'll get to Derek, your super chat in a minute. Appreciate that on Pat McAfee stepping away from WWE. I'm not sad about that.
Nope.
What? So I at first when all the guys in the black outfits and masks came out and they were scrambling around the ring, Kelly, I'm sure you relate to this. You sometimes when you play pinball, you just put all 4-5 balls in play at once and just they're just bouncing all over the place. It's kind of fun.
Yep.
That's what it was like. They're just bouncing around the ring. I'm like, okay, this feels kind of corny. Like, why are they? What's the point of this other than it's an overcompensation for the fact that they want you to know Seth was too hurt to be one of the masked guys, but it was always one of his henchmen, and now we're going to really lay it in there. But by the end, Michael Cole even underlined it for us. No, Seth anticipated maybe the Vision coming out. He'd be outnumbered. He wants to stay safe. He's not even medically cleared yet. So he has all his, hired henchmen or whatever we're supposed to believe they are, creating this scene where he can get lost in a crowd. It's sort of a Where's Waldo. If everybody was wearing black masks, you just lose track of it. So I thought it came around in the end fine. It's weird seeing a segment with a Vision when there's no Paul Heyman, no Braun Breaker, no Bronson Reed. Is it really the Vision? Technically it's who's left. It was interesting seeing just Logan and Austin Theory have to carry the segment, but we'll cover that second. What do you think of Seth and the mask guys and how they handle that?
I think they did okay with what they were trying to do, but they got a little greedy with the fact that we knew where Seth was right away. And they wanted to do the superstar shot of him alone standing up on the announce table. So we knew which one was Seth. So once they did the chaotic scene of all them running around, it was like, we know he's there. We already know he's there.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't hate the scene as something that they wanted to do, but we knew where he was. I think that the scene succeeded in what it wanted to do eventually, but those of the people in the chat who thought this was cheesy, I don't disagree with you.
MD87 Punk says that Seth Rollins opening was the goofiest crap I've seen in ages. And again, it's just my only, I agree. And we had, 10 minutes to think about how cheesy it was and how dorky it was and what was that. But in the end, it did help hide Seth from a mere 2-on-1 attack. Seth could have stood his ground with one other person and it would have felt like a fair fight. And as a babyface, having a bunch of black outfitted guys scrambling around him, it's kind of cool and memorable in the context of you guys want to get me before I'm medically cleared while I'm outnumbered. Well, good luck. You can't find me. We're all running different directions. So in the end, I'm okay with it. But I sure get, I think we all had those feelings early on. Real Legend goes, a crowd chanting, "Holy shit," was weird. LOL. and all the guys doing that. Standard Aviation wants to know, why did they mix themselves up before revealing who Seth was? Yeah, obviously they're doing it for the art of it.
Yeah, we knew who he was because they shot it that way. So why?
By the way, Corey Graves, when Seth stood on the table, before he revealed he was Seth, like when he first came out, and Corey Graves looked up at him, and it was just like, he was like way more, he was cartoonishly scared and freaked out by this presence. And I felt like that was a little beneath Corey Graves to kind of pull like, what was it? Seth was petrified in the presence of the Fiend, and a lot of people never forgave him for that. This was like Graves' moment being petrified of, ironically, I guess, enough Seth standing there. But yeah, Jay and Hartford said when they run around before the first reveal, it was dumb. However, when they did it the second time, it made sense. And that's kind of where I am. MD87 goes, it was obvious. There were like 7 guys to chase in the ring. It was so dumb, or choose in the ring. Yeah. Okay. Logan and Austin Theory, how did they do without everybody else? Kelly.
Well, they were there. It's so hard to look at the screen where it says the Vision and it's just these guys. It's really hard not to think about the injuries that have caused the faction to look like this. It's just really tough that it's WrestleMania season, and
it's not a dig at Logan and Austin Theory either. It just doesn't feel like a faction. It's just 2 guys, and it's what they have left, and it's a bummer. What have you thought of Logan Paul in this? Yes, they talk about Logan being a social media influencer, celebrity, whatever his resume main bullet point is. Just what is your job? Whatever it is. They may mention it, but he kind of just feels like he is just a wrestler now, in the way that he integrates, and it's sort of a humble sort of moment for him in a sense that he was very famous in this other sphere, and he's just another guy. He doesn't act like he's above anybody else, other than when he's trying to get heel heat in the context of the Vision. Then you got Austin Theory, who they stripped down. They stripped off all the paint of the goof and then let it sit there for a few weeks. And now, as Paul Heyman said on the Stephanie McMahon podcast last fall, when he works with people, he goes, what can make you cry? What can make you mad? What can show a different side of you? And I'm going to whisper that in your ear before you go out on TV. That's what he says he does for Braun, and what he did for all the people he's worked with, Brock and Roman and the Usos and Sami even, and all that. It does seem like Theory if you didn't see him be a goof, you would look. I think he's believable as a kind of a tightly wound, intense guy now. Like, I think he's on a journey to, whether it's, it's better than 18 other people on the roster who'd rather give TV time to. We'll figure that out. But I'm actually kind of buying him now as not a goofy guy pretending to be serious for 10 minutes.
Yeah, and I saw him being a goofy guy for a very long time because that's what NXT presented. And he's really good at that, by the way.
Mm-hmm.
Like, if his career had been, hey, we want you to be Santino, he would have been Santino and he would have been just fine. This group, and the issues they've had and the time of the year that it's at it's been a problem. I just think that Austin can maybe pick some of that slack. Go ahead.
Is Austin? Do you buy Austin? You saw so much of him as a goof. Do you buy him when you see him come out? It's like, okay, I kind of think that's. Like, I believe that's the mode he's in. He's not just acting poorly to be a serious guy with pent-up energy and edge.
Willing to believe him. I just feel like there's so many that aren't. The version of him that they're trying to present, I know that it can work because they did that briefly before they made him the goofball in the way that was the group with
Gargano and LeRae
Gargano and LeRae, and
Dexter
and Izzy,
Dexter Loomis.
So
right?
No, with Indy.
Oh yeah,
Indie
yeah.
wrestling.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I know that he can do all that. I'm not worried about all that, but they spent so much time doing that with him. I worry that that a certain kind of fan will or will not will like accept him in that role. I think he can do it, but the amount of online pushback I see of Austin Theory is I don't know why it's there, but it seems like people want to push back on him.
Yeah. Okay. We were asked, did we cover Obafemi and Rusev yet? What a bummer we didn't get more out of this match, like build-up wise. I mean, like, I don't know what the deal is with Rusev, but he does not come across as somebody that promoters, bookers, and peers have confidence in and want to invest in and believe he'll show up to work, give you a good, honest effort. So you can put him in a 3-month program and have a payoff. That was the case in AEW, and that's the case with WWE. I feel like there's so much more to offer, but a podcast will be given or a story will be written about his unfulfilled potential. Unfortunately, but nevertheless, it was a win for Obafemi. The announcers framed it as his toughest test yet. Talk about Rusev Oba tonight in particular, and then broaden it out a bit to how you think they're doing with Oba on main roster relative to how he was pushed in NXT.
It's pretty similar. So Oba is so good and so overwhelming that that I think that they will be a little embarrassed as at the fact that they have claimed that Braun Breaker will be a multiple time WrestleMania main eventer, because all the things that they think he is, Oba actually is. He's that good. He's overwhelming. He's good on the mic. He's all the things that they're looking for, and I hope that they understand that. And I do think that they understand that based on the fact that he is. They're calling him a. What are they calling him? A free agent, which is odd because he's wrestling on both shows, but he's still a tweener because they don't know where they want him yet. I think that's the reason he's beating both faces and heels. But Oba is the kind of guy you can build an entire company around, and I genuinely hope that they can see that, because everything they say about Braun is actually true about Obafemi, and he can be that good.
Yeah. I mean, fortunately, I think there's room for both Braun Breaker and Obafemi to be, big stars 3, 4, 5, 6 years from now, because they're so different.
Yeah.
You got Trick Williams in the mix. What do you think of I know some people are asking about this too in the chat, the Kofi and Javon Evans interactions and what they're doing there?
That is not a bad scene for either of them. With Kofi being alone at the moment, I think that's a good way to get Javon where he needs to be. Javon needs to be an underdog who wins maybe 30% of his matches, and that's all he ever needs to be, and will be very good in that role. I think he's the spiritual successor of Sami Zayn. So I'm psyched to see what he does in that way. They look different, but all the other boxes they tick are the same. So I'm psyched about that, and Javon can certainly do that.
Yeah. All right, then we have a couple super chats. One is just Jay in Hartford super chatting us with no comments. Thank you, Jay. Very kind of you. And then Derek Mitchell with a super chat. Thank you, Derek, for your generosity every week. With Pat McAfee announcing he's quitting WWE today, in part because he thinks the business has passed him by. Does this go on Gunther's retirement list? Yeah, so, I mean, I don't think he said he's quitting because the business has passed him by. I think he's quitting because he is suffering from burnout, took on too much. But as a consolation, I think, and not hearing it, just kind of seeing a recap, a consolation for people is that, but I'm leaving something for reasons that are personal, but I also feel the business has passed me by. I'd like him to elaborate on that. I don't know if he did or he will, or what. It's interesting. He burned hot, Kelly. I mean, he was loving it.
Yeah.
He made it about him a lot. He brought an energy and a vigor and a enthusiasm that was pretty, I think it was a lot, but for a while I thought it was a positive. Like having a color commentator as rich and famous and successful as him in the sports sphere, know the product that well and show that level of enthusiasm worked for me for a while. And then it just didn't. It felt performative, derivative, overdone, forced. Grow up. You stop acting. You're a grown man. It was fun when it was like new, but now be a professional. And yeah, it got to be too much, and I don't miss him. But I do think, I totally buy that it could simply be burnout. I mean, he was traveling, whatever, private jet and stuff. But I mean, he has a lot of money. But it was a lot. And, WWE has high expectations for you to know your stuff and be able to be at production meetings and hit the bullet points on cue. It's not about freestyle. He wanted commentary. I don't know. I conjure up in my mind the possibility, and I'll check on this, that he wanted commentary to be more like a podcast. Let me just react to things. And I think they want him to show up 5 hours beforehand and sit down and look at the bullet points they wanted to hit too. So I think they were willing to take the bad with the good, but I could see him just going, the business passed me by because I can't just go be myself. They want me to be a bullet point, attached to that. I'm throwing that out there as a possibility. I don't know. Kelly, what do you think?
I'm very much with you. I can see that this guy could go to those meetings and his brain leaves the room.
Yeah.
All love, I guess, for him, but I can see him not having a whole lot of interest in those kind of things where he has to be present. He would show up every time he showed up after a hiatus. It was kind of clear that he didn't know what the product was doing. And I don't know, for all his enthusiasm, I think he's got his hand in so many buckets that I just think that good for him. He will be successful in one way or another. But if you can't give yourself 100% to wrestling fans will notice. And they will not forgive you. So there you are.
Kelly, anything else you want to bring up from the show? And chat, this is your last chance if we forgot something, or you mentioned it earlier, we didn't get to it, if you want us to bring it up. But Kelly, anything else on tonight's show or in your notes that give me your brief take on the gauntlet match lasting 37 minutes. Did it earn its time?
That is, I do think so. They pushed and also protected Io Sky. Ivy Nile needs a win, and she got one. Doesn't matter how she got it, but she got it. Bailey needed some kind of push, and she got one. Asuka still had something to do, even though she didn't win. And then Penta, El Grande Americano, and Danhausen all got something to do in the middle. I had a lot of nice things to say about this show that I didn't say because we didn't cover. There were only 3 matches, if you count the whatever as one. But no complaints, and I dug being here.
I want to clarify too, just so it doesn't get on. 93 Octane 67 says Pat probably doesn't show up to meetings because he doesn't respect the writing staff. Just look at the product. I am not reporting that McAfee didn't go to meetings and didn't like bullet points. I'm just saying when he says it's passed him by and looking at his announcing style, I said I'm conjuring up the possibility he just didn't want to be reined in. He just wanted to be like, just let me bring my energy. If that's just my guess, because people have said, what's your guess what he meant by that? That's my guess what he meant by it. And I think he's still a fan. I just think he's trying to, and I might report tomorrow. I'm totally wrong on this because I'll ask around. But that business passing him by is his passive aggressive Minnesota nice way of saying they wanted to do things in a way that was too structured for the way my brain works and the way that I want to do this. And I only do what's fun for me because I am burned out and I have all the money I want. So I'm only going to do stuff that's fun. And I get that. And Standard Deviation is with me. He was great at first, but dropped off significantly. Kelly, what do you think of Penta's promo? Sean Plichta says Penta speaking was very good. And Jay in Hartford said Penta's promo was great.
It was my favorite thing that happened on the show.
Wow.
Yeah, I didn't dislike anything that happened on the show, but Penta doing this was a big step up for him. I didn't know if I think that a secondary championship is the best that is probably his height. Maybe not. I love that he does not think so, and he's going hard. But yeah, I really thought that this was good, fiery stuff from somebody who doesn't speak the language first and foremost.
Did it take away any of his mystique? Is that a downside? Or no? This is who we see Penta be. Body language, like his demonstrative emoting, just we now got an extended vocal version of it and it matches a character. Or was there something that took a little away from the mystique because he was more just blurting things out, but you didn't get this long form centerpiece promo before?
For me, it added to whatever he is. I actually do kind of see your argument here, and
I'm not arguing it. I'm presenting it as a talking point. I'm not sure that I feel that way, but it crossed my mind watching it. That's why I bring it up.
I can see that as an argument, but I would say that it was a bigger moment for him that he busted out this promo because he was saving it for the fact that he had finally really made it in the company and won gold there.
Standard Deviation says, I wasn't into Penta's promo. He screamed with wild eyes, and yet the content was not worthy of all the yelling. So another view there. Michael Gross says, Penta has a timeline ceiling. I want the most for that person. Interesting. Oh, I didn't think it was very charitable of Finn Balor when he's about to turn babyface to say last week, Dom, you would indeed still be Intercontinental Champion if not for me. Like last week, Penta won the title. It was all about Judgment Day. So I'm glad they gave him a promo time to kind of offset that. But you still had a backstage segment where a guy who's about to be a babyface is saying, Dom you would have beat Penta, Dom, if not for my help. They weren't being super charitable. Like, Finn should have said, I think Penta would have beat you anyway. That's what, I don't know. I don't know if you need to say. It just didn't seem like they had Penta prioritized in that segment, whoever produced it.
Yeah. They even kind of did that with Bayley and Lyra, where Bayley said, I would have beat her. Well, I maybe would have beat her anyway.
Yep.
Yeah, kind of the same.
Yeah. All right, cool. Kelly, thanks.
Always cool to be here. When next we reconvene, I will be back from Europe, apparently.
Oh, it's amazing. Have a blast. I will be living vicariously through that trip and expect lots of photos and feedback.
I will do so.
Yes. All right. Thanks, everybody. Thanks to our super chats. I covered everything on the super chats, hopefully. So yeah, go VIP, support what we do, and you get a lot in return. It's not charity. We're not looking. Well, charity's fine if you want to super chat. That's great. But VIP membership gives you a lot of perks, and you can find out details at pwtorch.com/govip. Unlock an unmatched amount of insider information, contemporaneous, real time, as it happened coverage of wrestling dating back to the late 1980s. Whatever big event or big story you want to see our coverage of or listen to it, it's there. So go VIP, pwtorch.com/govip, plus just every day, new content. We're running 18 years ago podcasts on our podcast feed, Bruce Mitchell audio shows, Wade Keller hotlines with tons of insider news from back in 2008. So those are fun too. If you want to if you weren't around then or want to relive our coverage then, we were putting up 18 years ago content. I know we're doing it like every day this month going forward pretty much. So lots of cool perks. Check it out, pwtorch.com/govip. And tomorrow, Greg Parks is my co-host on the flagship tomorrow. So if you have a question or a topic suggestion, Wade Keller podcast at gmail.com. We're recording early afternoon on Tuesday, so don't put off sending us an email. Sometimes we get emails after we record the flagship because we don't put the flagship up till Tuesday evening, but sometimes we record it earlier, and this is one of those weeks. So get them in quick if you want to contribute to that show. Otherwise, I'll talk to you Wednesday night after Dynamite, and be sure to check out PWT Talks NXT on the PWTorch YouTube channel live after NXT tomorrow night. And this is where I sign off, but look for little things to throw on the screen from the chat from people having closing words themselves. So if you're on the YouTube side of things, stay tuned for that. On the podcast side of things, thank you, and we'll talk to you next time.